I straighten the last sterling silver fork on my parents' Thanksgiving table, adjusting it to precisely the same angle as the others. The caterers move quietly behind me, professionals who understand the importance of presentation. I've spared no expense. Butterfield's is the most sought-after catering service in the city. But as I step back to survey the elegant table setting with its autumn-hued centerpiece and hand-calligraphed place cards, a familiar tightness grips my chest. No matter how perfect I make this, it won't be enough. Diana, don't you think this is all a bit excessive for a simple family dinner? My mother's voice cuts through the room as she enters, her critical gaze sweeping over the arrangements. Barbara Wells, always impeccably dressed in her cashmere sweater and pearls, has a gift for making questions sound like judgments. I maintain a carefully neutral expression, the mask I've perfected over 35 years. I wanted to do something special this year. What I don't say, I wanted just once, for you to be impressed by something I've done. Mom runs her finger along the edge of a Waterford crystal glass. Well, it certainly is. Something. The pause speaks volumes. I hope this didn't strain your budget too much, honey. We would have been perfectly happy with my usual turkey and stuffing. I bite back the truth that threatens to spill out, that this dinner, which would indeed strain most people's budgets, represents less than a day's income for me. That Authentique, my little antique shop as they dismissively call it, authenticated a Fabergé egg last month for a 7-figure commission. That the modest monthly deposits I've been making into their account for the past 3 years have quietly paid off their mortgage. Instead, I adjust a napkin and say, "It's my treat, Mom. Don't worry about it." The doorbell chimes, saving me from further questioning. My father's heavy footsteps cross the foyer, followed by an excited exclamation, "There's my girl!" Melissa has arrived fashionably late, as always. I move to the kitchen doorway and watch as my younger sister sweeps in, bringing a whirlwind of expensive perfume and dramatic gestures. At 28, Melissa still carries herself with the entitled confidence of the favored child. My parents beam at her as she shrugs off her designer coat. "Sorry I'm late," she announces, not sounding sorry at all. Traffic was a nightmare. Dad places his hands on her shoulders, his face glowing with pride. "Did you tell them about the interview?" Melissa tosses her perfectly highlighted hair. "Not yet, Dad. I literally just walked in." "My brilliant girl has an interview with Caldwell Partners next week," he announces, turning to make sure I've heard. "Senior marketing position. Very competitive." "That's wonderful," I say automatically, the words hollow but expected. Mom clasps her hands together. "We always knew you'd do great things, sweetheart." I slip away, unnoticed, to check on an important auction closing today. My laptop sits on the side table in Dad's study, screen displaying the authentication platform I've built from nothing. $8.6 million in company assets. A pending contract worth $290,000. Quarterly revenue of $3.5 million. Numbers that would shock them into silence if they knew. I refresh the page, confirming our winning bid on a rare Art Deco diamond bracelet, then close the auction window. As I start to shut the laptop, my phone buzzes with a message from my assistant. I step into the hallway to respond, giving detailed instructions for the piece's secure transport. When I return, the laptop is still open, but something feels off. I scan the room, noticing nothing obviously disturbed, yet the prickle at the back of my neck persists. "Dinner's ready," Mom calls from the dining room. I close the laptop and rejoin my family, finding Melissa already seated in what has always been my spot at the table. She's scrolling through her phone, a strange expression on her face, something calculating in her eyes that makes my stomach tighten. "Everything okay?" I ask, as I take the seat across from her. "Just fine," she says, putting her phone down with deliberate care. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes. Dad raises his glass once we're all seated. "To family," he toasts, "and to my beautiful daughters, especially Melissa, on the cusp of her big break." I lift my glass automatically, but before I can take a sip, Melissa clears her throat. "Actually," she says, her voice cutting through the moment, "I think Diana might be the one with something to celebrate." She slides her phone across the table, screen displaying a photo of my laptop. My financial records. My company assets. "So when were you going to tell us about your millions?" The silence that follows is absolute. A fork clatters against fine china as Mom's hand goes limp. Dad's face darkens to a dangerous red as he stares at the screen, then at me. "This can't be true," Mom whispers, her voice tight with accusation. "How long have you been hiding this from us?" I sit frozen, watching as the carefully constructed wall between my real life and my family life crumbles completely. "All this time," Dad says, his voice rising, "we've worked hard our whole lives, and you sat on millions without helping us?" The unfairness of his words stings like a physical blow. I think of myself at 18, scholarship letter in hand, my parents dismissive because it wasn't the full ride Melissa would later receive. The 3 jobs I worked while putting myself through college, the graduation they missed because Melissa had a dance recital. The years of building my company while they patronizingly asked when I'd find a real career. "Diana owes us an explanation," Melissa says, her voice trembling with perfectly practiced indignation. "And honestly, some help. I have $85,000 in student loans from my MBA. The same MBA our parents encouraged her to pursue while telling me my art history degree was impractical. Something shifts inside me, a lifetime of accommodating, explaining, diminishing myself to keep the peace suddenly crystallizes into something hard and sharp and clear. "I've been sending you $2,500 every month for the past 3 years, I say quietly, looking directly at my parents. Their stunned expressions would be comical if they weren't so painful. And I don't owe anyone in this family anything. The scrape of my chair against hardwood floor sounds unnaturally loud as I stand. With deliberate calm, I gather my belongings sparse, phone, car keys feeling strangely light as I walk toward the door, leaving the untouched meal behind. I close the door with quiet finality, the sound of my family erupting into chaos fading as I step into the cool November air, free at last. My phone glows in the darkness of my apartment, the harsh blue light illuminating the silence I've wrapped around myself like a shield. It's been 48 hours since I walked out of my parents' house, leaving behind a Thanksgiving dinner that cost more than their monthly mortgage payment, a payment I've been quietly making for years. I tap the screen. 45 missed calls, 123 unread text messages, all from the same 3 people. How could you let your parents struggle all these years? "We're family. Family shares, don't be so selfish." "I need help with my loans, Diana. You owe me this." I set the phone face down on my coffee table, the cedar surface cool beneath my fingertips. The irony doesn't escape me. For years, I've craved their attention, worked for their approval, longed for them to see me. Now that they've discovered what I'm worth in dollars, they suddenly can't stop reaching out. Funny how being ignored feels preferable now. My fingers hover over the block button. Not yet. Some small, wounded part of me still hopes for an apology, an acknowledgement, anything that suggests they value me beyond my bank account. The phone vibrates again, skittering across the polished wood. This time, it's not a text but a notification from Facebook. Reluctantly, I open it, then wish I hadn't. Melissa's post sits at the top of my feed, already gathering likes and comments like flies on honey. So disappointing when your own sister is secretly rich but lets her family struggle. Some people forget where they came from. The comments pour in beneath it. "That's terrible. Family should come first." I always thought Diana seemed stuck up. Rich people are so greedy these days. My cousin Angela, who hasn't spoken to me in 5 years. She never even helped when Mom needed surgery. I never knew about any surgery. No one told me. I close the app, but the damage is already seeping through my carefully constructed walls. My company email pings with a new message, then another, and another. "Hello, Diana, this is your Uncle Steve. I didn't know how else to reach you. Diana, it's Aunt Patricia. We're having some financial difficulties with Jason's college tuition. I know we haven't spoken in years, but I've always thought of you as family." The knot in my stomach tightens as my private life becomes public fodder, my success transformed into their entitlement. I've spent years building Authentique, working 16-hour days, risking everything on my expertise and judgment. Now my achievement has become a family scandal, my privacy shattered by a sister who couldn't resist the urge to punish me for her own disappointments. My phone rings. Grandma Margaret's name lights up the screen. I hesitate. Grandma has always been different, sharper, more perceptive than her daughter, my mother. But she's still family. And right now, family feels like a loaded gun pointed at my heart. On the 4th ring I answer, "Diana." Her voice is clear and strong, belying her 85 years. No hello, no preamble. I heard what happened. I brace myself for the lecture, the reminder about blood being thicker than water, the guilt that my generation doesn't understand sacrifice. Don't you dare give them a penny more. The air leaves my lungs in a rush. What? You heard me. Her voice is steel wrapped in silk. Not another cent. They've been leeching off you for years, haven't they? The monthly deposits, the gifts. The checks you thought I didn't notice. Grandma, No explanations needed. She pauses, and I hear ice cubes clinking against glass. Grandma still enjoys her evening bourbon. They did the same thing to your Aunt Elizabeth 30 years ago. The name lands like a stone in still water. Aunt Elizabeth, me mother's elder sister. The family success story who disappeared from family gatherings when I was just a child. The cautionary tale of selfish ambition my mother would reference with tight lips and narrowed eyes. Elizabeth built a real estate empire from nothing, Grandma continues. The moment your grandfather and your mother found out how successful she'd become, they descended like vultures. Demanded she buy them a new house, pay for your mother's wedding, fund your grandfather's retirement. Each revelation hits like a physical blow. What happened? She gave and gave until there was nothing left. Her business collapsed under the strain. Her marriage fell apart. Last I heard, she was living in Arizona, starting over in her 60s. Grandma's voice softens. It's the Wells family pattern, Diana. Use the successful one until they break, then find another target. The silence stretches between us, filled with generations of toxic expectation. It's time someone broke the cycle, Grandma says finally. After we hang up, I sit in the gathering darkness, Grandma's words echoing in my mind. A family pattern. A cycle to break. The next morning, I'm at my attorney's office before they officially open. Marion listens without judgment as I explain the situation, her practiced eyes taking in the dark circles beneath mine, the tension in my shoulders. We'll start with documentation, she says, sliding a legal pad across her desk. Every dollar you've given them. Every text demanding more. Every social media post attempting to shame you. I nod, already feeling lighter as I begin listing dates, amounts, transfers. Then a cease and desist letter, she continues, followed by security upgrades for both home and office, and we'll need to change your emergency contacts immediately. For 3 hours, we methodically construct a fortress around my life and business. Each signature, each document represents another brick in the wall between the family I was born into and the life I've built. When I leave Marion's office, the winter sun feels brighter somehow. I take out my phone and, with 3 decisive taps, block their numbers. The silence that follows isn't empty, it's peaceful. For the first time in years, I can hear myself think. Monday mornings at Authentique always carry a sense of purpose. I step through the glass doors of our office building, the familiar weight of my leather portfolio in hand, mind already cycling through the day's appointments. The subtle scent of fresh flowers fills our reception area white orchids, my signature touch for our clients who appreciate the finer details. But something is wrong. Camille, our receptionist, meets my eyes with an uncomfortable expression I've never seen on her normally composed face. Miss Wells, she says, voice pitched slightly lower than usual. Your family is here to see you. The words hit like an unexpected appraisal error. I freeze mid-stride, then deliberately smooth my expression into what my staff knows as my auction face, the perfectly neutral look I wear when examining a potentially valuable piece. They're here. After a week of digital siege, the calls, the texts, the social media campaign, they've brought the battle to my territory. And there they sit in my reception area. Barbara with her perfectly coiffed silver blonde hair and cashmere cardigan. Richard, ramrod straight in his navy blazer, jaw clenched tight. And Melissa, designer handbag clutched in white-knuckled hands, eyes darting around my office as if tallying its worth. The whispers from the authentication team down the hall reach my ears. This is exactly what I've dreaded, my carefully separated worlds colliding in spectacular fashion. I straighten my spine and approach them. This is unexpected, I say, my voice steady and professional. I'm in the middle of a workday. Mom rises first. We wouldn't have had to come here if you'd answered our calls, she says, the accusation thinly veiled as explanation. Dad stands next. We need to talk, Diana, privately. I'm acutely aware of my team watching this unfold. The family drama I've worked so hard to keep contained is now center stage in the business I've built from nothing. Conference room 3 is available, I say after a moment, gesturing down the hallway. The glass-walled room offers the illusion of privacy while ensuring this won't escalate unseen. 20 minutes, that's all I can spare. They follow me through the office, past the climate-controlled authentication stations where my team examines priceless pieces, past the wall displaying our industry certifications and awards. I watch their eyes widen at the obvious success surrounding them. This is my domain, built by my hands, my knowledge, my persistence. The conference room door closes behind us with a soft click. The space is elegant but functional polished walnut table, ergonomic chairs, discreet technology. Through the glass walls, I can see my assistant hovering nearby, concern evident on her face. I give her a slight nod to indicate I'm fine. Before I can speak, Melissa slides a document across the table. The header reads, Wells Family Trust. We've had financial advisors help us draft this, she says, voice trembling with what might sound like emotion to someone who hasn't watched her perform since childhood dance recitals. It's very reasonable. I don't touch the document. What exactly is this? Mom leans forward, hands clasped together. Diana, honey, we're your family. We deserve to share in your success. After everything we sacrificed for you, Dad adds, his voice carrying that familiar tone of authority that once made me shrink inside myself. The words echo in my head, unlocking a flood of memories I've carefully compartmentalized. Me at 18, proudly holding my scholarship letter at the kitchen table, Mom barely glancing at it before asking if I'd help prepare dinner. The 3 jobs I juggled through college while they paid for Melissa's private university without question. My college graduation ceremony empty seats where my parents should have been because Melissa had a dance showcase the same weekend. When did you ever sacrifice for me? The question escapes before I can contain it, my voice unnervingly calm. Name one thing. The silence that follows is heavy with shock. Barbara's perfectly lined lips part slightly. Richard's face flushes. That's absurd, Mom finally manages. We gave you everything. You didn't even come to my college graduation. The words hang in the air between us. Dad shifts uncomfortably, but his expression quickly hardens. We couldn't be everywhere at once, he says dismissively. And look at you now, clearly you didn't need us there. I built this company while you told everyone I worked at some little antique shop, I continue, each word precise and measured. You've never once asked about my business. Not once in 7 years. We didn't want to pry, Mom says weakly. No, you didn't want to know, I correct her. Because as long as you didn't acknowledge my success, you didn't have to compare it to Melissa's. Melissa's carefully constructed tears begin right on cue. That's so unfair. You've always been jealous of me. I feel a strange calm settling over me, the kind that comes with absolute clarity. I've been supporting you both financially for years, I say, looking directly at my parents. $2,500 every month for 3 years. Barbara's hand flies to her throat. Those deposits, we thought they were from your father's pension adjustment. They weren't, and that support ends today. Richard's face darkens to a dangerous red. He rises from his chair, knuckles pressed against the polished conference table. We're entitled to a share of your company. The word entitled reverberates through me. It's the perfect distillation of everything wrong between us, the expectation that my success is somehow their possession, that my achievements exist to serve their needs. I reach for the intercom button with deliberate calm. Elaine, would you please ask security to come to conference room 3? You would throw your own parents out? Mom gasps, shock transforming her features. I meet her eyes directly. You stopped being parents to me long ago. The silence that follows is absolute. Even Melissa's theatrical sobs quiet as the reality of the situation sinks in. The door opens, and 2 members of our building security team enter, James and Marcus, both consummate professionals who handle our high-value transfers. They stand quietly, waiting for instruction. These people need to be escorted from the building, I say, my voice steady. They are not to be admitted again without my express permission. Dad's face contorts with rage. You ungrateful! Mr. Wells, James interrupts with respectful firmness. Please come with us. As they gather their belongings, Mom clutching her purse like a shield, Dad seething with barely contained fury, Melissa turns to deliver her parting shot. "This isn't over," she hisses, eyes narrowed. I watch them being led through my office, past my employees who quickly pretend to be absorbed in their work. The glass doors close behind them, and I remain standing in the conference room, the rejected Wells family trust document still lying on the table. "Yes, it is," I whisper to myself, the words carrying the weight of finality. When I step back into the main office area, my team studiously avoids making eye contact. Only Elaine approaches, concern evident in her expression. "Everything okay, Miss Wells?" I straighten my shoulders, feeling lighter than I have in years. "Schedule the senior team for a meeting at 2. We have the Harriman authentication to finalize." As I walk to my office, I feel the subtle shift in the atmosphere, a new respect mingled with curiosity. They've witnessed something rare. Diana Wells drawing a line that cannot be crossed. I close my office door and take a moment to breathe. In the polished surface of my desk, I catch my reflection, shoulders back, head high, eyes clear. For the first time in my life, I've chosen my own worth over their approval. And it feels like freedom. I study the weight of the fountain pen in my Handan antique Mont Blanc with a flawless 18K gold nib. It's the pen I use for authenticating the most valuable pieces in my collection. Today, it seems fitting that I use it to authenticate my freedom. "Take your time, Diana." Martin Abernathy's voice is steady, professional. At 62, he's been practicing family law for longer than I've been alive. His office smells of leather-bound books and lemon polish, a fortress of calculated calm. The legal documents spread before me represent weeks of meticulous preparation, formal cessation of financial support, documented history of all previous transfers, legal protection from harassment and defamation. Each page crisp black text against pristine white, the language precise and unambiguous. "Once you sign these, it establishes clear legal boundaries," Martin explains, his finger tapping gently on the signature line. "Your family will have no grounds to demand financial support or involvement with your business assets." I nod, then press the pen to paper. My signature flows across the line with the same confidence I use when authenticating a rare Cartier bracelet. The small act carries the weight of mountains shifting. "What about the social media posts?" I ask, thinking of Melissa's increasingly desperate public campaign. Martin's expression remains neutral, but his eyes sharpen. "We've documented everything. Should they continue after receiving these papers, we have grounds for a restraining order." I sign the final document, feeling a curious lightness spread through my chest. It reminds me of the day I received my first major authentication commission, the same sense that something fundamental has shifted. "What most clients find," Martin says as he collects the papers, "is that toxic family members often respond to legal boundaries by shifting tactics." "What do you mean?" He offers a smile that holds the wisdom of hundreds of similar cases. "When demands don't work, they often turn to narrative control. The story will change from 'she owes us' to 'we never wanted her money anyway.'" I almost laugh at the accuracy of his prediction. By the time I return to my apartment, it's already begun. The email from my second cousin Deborah arrives as I'm repainting my home office. I've chosen a serene sage green to replace the beige my mother once insisted was the only professional color for a workspace. The paint roller glides smoothly across the wall, each stroke erasing another memory of compromise. "Diana, I'm concerned about your parents. They're devastated that you've cut them off completely. They say they never wanted your money, just a relationship with their daughter. Your mother is telling everyone at church how they sacrificed everything for your education." My phone buzzes with a text notification from Uncle Stephen, my father's brother. "Your father says he's praying for your redemption. What's gotten into you?" I set down the roller carefully on its tray, then wash my hands before responding to either message. The calculated pause isn't about formulating a defense, it's about honoring my own process. The old Diana would have frantically explained, justified, apologized. At my laptop, I open the simple spreadsheet I've maintained for years. Row after row of financial transfers. $2,500 on the first of every month for 36 consecutive months. The down payment for their roof repair, $14,800. My father's medical bills, $9,732. Melissa's car after her accident, $32,000. All meticulously documented, organized, indisputable. I could forward this spreadsheet to every relative currently entertaining my family's revised history. I could post screenshots on social media to counter Melissa's tearful claims of abandonment. The evidence sits at my fingertips, ready to be weaponized. Instead, I close the file without sending it. I compose a single, measured response to Deborah. I understand they're upset. I've made my decision after careful consideration of our family dynamics over many years. I wish them well, but I need this boundary. To Uncle Stephen simply, I'm doing what's best for my well-being after much reflection. My phone rings almost immediately. The screen displays Aunt Elizabeth, my father's sister who moved across the country 25 years ago after what the family always called her nervous breakdown. Diana, it's Elizabeth. Her voice sounds different than I remember, stronger, more centered. Margaret told me what's happening with Richard and Barbara. Grandma called you? The paintbrush I'm cleaning nearly slips from my hand. She did, and I need to tell you something. There's a pause then. They did the same thing to me when I received my inheritance from Grandpa Wells. I sink into my desk chair, paint-speckled fingers gripping the phone tighter. What? The demands. The public shaming. Telling everyone I was selfish and unnatural for not sharing with family. Her words come faster now. 3 decades of contained truth-finding release. I didn't have your courage. I gave them nearly half before I realized they would never stop asking. Something clicks into place, the reason this poised, intelligent woman has remained a family mystery, present only in occasional holiday cards and brief visits. Is that why you moved to Oregon? 3,000 miles of necessary distance. There's a smile in her voice now. Diana, I'm calling because I want you to know that what you're doing isn't just right for you, it's breaking a pattern that's hurt this family for generations. After we hang up, I stand in my half-painted office, breathing in the fresh scent of new beginnings. On my desk sits a legal document confirming receipt of the cease and desist letters by all 3 family members. The notification light on my phone has finally stopped blinking. The constant barrage of messages has ceased the digital equivalent of held breath. They've received the papers. They know this isn't a temporary emotional response they can wait out. I return to my painting, completing the wall with long, deliberate strokes. Tomorrow, I'll take down the family photos that have hung in uncomfortable obligation. The frames are beautiful antiques. I'll repurpose them for photography from my recent trip to Prague. For the first time in 35 years, I feel truly seen not by my parents, who never could see me clearly but by myself. In the quiet stillness of my apartment, I recognize that their power existed only in my desperate hope for their approval. The next morning, I wake with purpose. I remove each family photo from the walls, feeling the weight of obligation lift with every frame I take down. These beautiful antique frames, some Edwardian, one genuine Art Nouveau deserve better than to house memories of forced smiles and hollow celebrations. I lay them carefully on my dining table, wiping away the fine layer of dust. Next come the obligatory birthday gifts, the scarf my mother gave me, to add some color to your drab wardrobe, the business card holder from my father engraved with the wrong middle initial. Each item goes into a donation box, making space for what truly matters. By afternoon, I've rearranged the furniture, positioning my reading chair to face the eastern window where morning light streams in rather than against the wall, as my mother had insisted looked more appropriate. I unpacked the Turkish rug I purchased in Istanbul but kept in storage because it wouldn't match the family aesthetic if they visited. As the last stroke of paint completes the transformation of my walls, I understand that freedom isn't found in dramatic gestures or public vindication. It's found in the dignity of truth, held close and honored, and in the quiet power of creating a space that finally, completely belongs to me alone. Morning light streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Authentique's expanded offices, bathing the conference room in a warm glow that catches on the polished mahogany table. I straighten my notes, feeling the weight of the vintage watch on my wrist grate, grandmother's only heirloom I've kept close. The Bergman collection authentication yielded a 17% increase in fourth-quarter revenue, I tell the board members seated around me. And our new blockchain verification system has already attracted 3 major auction houses. Thomas Whitehill, my longest-serving board member, leans forward. Remarkable growth, Diana, especially considering the personal challenges of the past 6 months. I meet his gaze steadily. My personal and professional lives operate in different spheres now, Thomas, to everyone's benefit. The unspoken acknowledgement passes between us show I've transformed since cutting ties with my family. No more late-night panic calls from Mom about their mortgage payment. No more emergency transfers to cover Melissa's latest crisis. No more diminishing myself to maintain their comfortable illusions. Have you found that success comes more easily when you're free from toxic relationships? For me, the answer is an unequivocal yes. After the board meeting concludes, I walk the expanded floor of our operations center. 27 employees now, up from 22 before the Thanksgiving disaster. The familiar ping of authentication software mingles with quiet conversations as specialists examine pieces under specialized lighting. My domain, built from nothing but determination and expertise. The expertise my parents dismissed as playing with old jewelry. Jasmine, my new deputy director, approaches with a tablet. The Margaret Wells Scholarship Committee needs final approval on the application criteria. I smile at the name Grandma's maiden name, preserved in this new legacy. I've made some adjustments. I take the tablet, making several quick notes. I want to specifically target first-generation college students who demonstrate exceptional merit but lack financial support, like I once was. And I've doubled the funding for the first 5 years. Jasmine raises an eyebrow. That's exceptionally generous. It's necessary, I reply simply, handing back the tablet. Some cycles need decisive breaking. How have you turned difficult family experiences into something positive for others? This scholarship isn't charity, it's correction. A rebalancing of opportunities that should have existed all along. The community center bustles with pre-holiday activity as I arrange holiday meal packages alongside other volunteers. 6 months ago, I'd have been preparing for another exhausting family gathering, analyzing every word choice for potential criticism, minimizing my accomplishments to avoid accusations of showing off. Diana, we need more help with the children's gift wrapping, calls Elaine, the volunteer coordinator. I move to the colorful station where donated presents await wrapping. Beside me, an elderly woman struggles with a particularly awkward Pacagea child's bicycle. Here, let me help. I offer, steadying the handlebars as she positions wrapping paper. Bless you, dear. She smiles. My daughter usually helps, but she couldn't make it today. I'm happy to fill in, I say, carefully creasing a corner. And where's your family today? The question would have stung 6 months ago. Now I simply meet her eyes. I'm spending the holidays with chosen family this year. She nods, a knowing light in her eyes. Sometimes those are the most important kind. We work in companionable silence, her gnarled fingers moving with surprising dexterity. When we finish, the bicycle is transformed into a festive masterpiece. Perfect teamwork, she declares. The warm satisfaction that spreads through me feels more genuine than any family dinner I've attended in years. Share how you've built a chosen family of supportive people in your life. How do these relationships differ from blood relationships? Mine offer acceptance without expectation, support without scoreboards. Grandma Margaret's retirement community gleams with tasteful holiday decorations as I sign the visitor log. The dining room, with its panoramic views of snow-dusted gardens, provides a serene backdrop for our monthly lunch. When I spot her silver-crowned head at our usual corner table, something tightens in my chest. She rises as I approach, arms extended for a hug that feels like coming home, the only embrace that's ever felt that way. There she is, Grandma says, her voice strong despite her 85 years. The only Wells with any sense. I laugh, settling across from her. How are you feeling? The new medication working? Don't fuss, she waves dismissively. I've outlived 2 husbands and most of my friends. I'll outlive these pills too. Our server brings Grandma's usual Earl Grey and cucumber sandwiches and my green tea. So, she says after the server leaves, leaning forward with conspiratorial energy, Barbara called last week. My stomach tightens slightly, but it's a distant reaction now, more habit than distress. And? Oh, the usual performance. They're telling everyone you've abandoned the family. Grandma's eyes, sharp as ever, study my reaction. Richard's spinning some tale about you having a nervous breakdown from work pressure. 6 months ago, these words would have sent me spiraling into defensive explanations. Now I simply raise an eyebrow. Creative. Melissa's engaged. apparently. To some investment banker who hasn't figured out there's no trust fund waiting. I sip my tea. Let them tell their stories. I'm writing my own now. Grandma's smile crinkles the corners of her eyes. Finally, someone in this family understands the value of hard work and clear boundaries. She reaches into her embroidered handbag. Which reminds me, she places a small velvet box on the table, pushing it toward me. Inside, I find a delicate gold locket engraved with intricate flowers. When I open it, there's a tiny black and white photo of a young woman with familiar, determined eyes. My mother, Grandma explains. Your great-grandmother Elizabeth, the original family rebel. She taps the locket. She left her controlling parents to become a teacher when women were expected to simply marry well. Started over with nothing but determination. You never told me this story, I say, tracing the engraving with my fingertip. Some family history is worth preserving, Grandma says. Just not the toxic parts. What parts of your family legacy do you choose to preserve? And which parts have you decided to leave behind? The question lingers as I clasp the locket around my neck, feeling its weight against my collarbone. I have something for you, too. I slide an envelope across the table. I hope you don't mind that I used your maiden name. Grandma opens the envelope, unfolding the Scholarship Foundation documents. Her hands tremble slightly as she reads. The Margaret Wells Scholarship for First-Generation College Students. Her voice catches. Diana. The first recipients will be selected next fall, I explain. I thought, maybe you'd like to help choose them. She reaches across the table, her weathered hand covering mine. I would be honored. After a moment, she straightens, composure returning. Now, about our trip to Europe this spring, I've been researching those jewelry museums you mentioned in Vienna. As we plan our journey, I realize I'm finally building the family legacy I've always wanted, one based on genuine connection rather than obligation, on mutual respect rather than manipulation. The foundation I've created isn't just financial, it's the solid ground of self-worth I've fought to establish. The family I've chosen, including the one blood relative who truly sees me as the one I deserve. I reach for a bright red bell pepper, weighing it in my palm. It's firm, unblemished, perfect for the roasted vegetable medley I'm planning for tomorrow's Thanksgiving dinner. Around me, the market bursts with color-vibrant orange pumpkins, deep purple eggplants, and forest green kale, creating a harvest palette that delights my senses. The gentle misting system sprays over the produce with a soft hiss, releasing the earthy aroma of fresh vegetables. Not catered this time. My own recipes, my own hands, preparing food for people who genuinely want to be at my table. Diana? The voice stops me cold, though my heart doesn't race like it once would have. I turn slowly, pepper still in hand, to see Melissa standing by the organic tomatoes. Her highlighted hair has grown out, dark roots prominent against the faded blonde, and her designer clothes have been replaced with a department store coat that's begun to pill at the cuffs. The strain of the past year shows in the fine lines around her eyes, her complexion dull compared to the vibrant produce surrounding us. Have you ever unexpectedly encountered family you've distanced yourself from? How did you handle it? Hello, Melissa. My voice is steady, neither warm nor cold. She shifts her weight, clutching her shopping basket like a shield. Inside, I glimpse store-brand pasta. A small turkey breast, not the whole bird our mother would insist upon, and a single bottle of $2 chuck. The evidence of downsized expectations. I didn't expect to run into you here. She glances at my cart filled with fresh produce, artisanal bread, and a bottle of reserve Cabernet. You look well. Thank you. I am well. The silence stretches between us like taffy, sticky and uncomfortable. The bustling market noise fades into the background, the beeping of checkout scanners, the squeaking of cart wheels, the murmur of other shoppers, all muted by the awkward tension of our unexpected reunion. A year ago, this encounter would have filled me with dread, with guilt, with a desperate need to smooth things over. Today, I simply wait. Mom and Dad are having a small dinner tomorrow, she finally offers, her tone carefully casual. Nothing fancy. Dad's hours got cut back at the firm, and with the economy. She trails off, the unspoken request hanging in the air between us. I place the pepper in my cart, the soft thud it makes against the metal basket punctuating my decision not to take her bait. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope things improve for them. Melissa's eyes widened slightly at my response, compassionate, but lacking the immediate offer of financial rescue she clearly hoped for. A flash of frustration crosses her face before settling into something more contemplative. Could you maintain such composure if faced with a similar situation? They ask about you sometimes, she says, her voice softer now. Mom doesn't say it, but I think she regrets how everything happened. I nod, acknowledging her words without jumping to fill the space with promises or apologies. That's good to know. A year ago, I might have interpreted this as an opening to repair what was broken, rushing back into the dysfunction with checkbook open. Now I recognize it for what it is, a tentative acknowledgement that perhaps they were wrong, wrapped in another subtle attempt to access my resources. And you? I ask, genuine curiosity in my voice. How are you doing, Melissa? Something shifts in her expression, surprise perhaps, that I would ask about her welfare without agenda. It's been educational. I finally got a job. Not with Caldwell, but a smaller firm. The pay isn't what I expected, but it's a start. That's something to be proud of. I say and mean it. For a moment, I glimpse a version of my sister I never knew, one forced to stand on her own feet, discovering her own capabilities. Not the entitled girl who assumed the world owed her success, but a woman learning what it means to earn her way. Well, I should get going, she says, glancing at her watch. We're having dinner at 5 tomorrow if you wanted to. I have plans, I say gently, but thank you for the invitation. She nods, a mix of relief and disappointment crossing her face. Happy Thanksgiving, Diana. Happy Thanksgiving, Melissa. I watch her walk away, noticing how her shoulders hunch slightly forward now instead of being thrown back in perpetual confidence. The squeak of her cartwheel creates a melancholy rhythm as she disappears around the corner. The encounter leaves me neither elated nor devastated, just peaceful. The power they once held over me has dissolved completely. What does family truly mean to you? And how has that definition evolved throughout your life? Grandma Margaret raises her glass from the head of my dining table, the light catching her silver hair like a crown. Around her sit my chosen family, Elise and Jerome from the gallery, my attorney Sarah and her husband, my restoration specialist Tomas, and 2 scholarship recipients who had nowhere to go for the holiday. The room glows with amber light from vintage brass candelabras, casting a warm radiance over plates of steaming food. The rich aroma of herbs and butter fills the air, rosemary, sage, thymingling with the scent of mulled cider simmering on the stove. Soft jazz plays in the background, a gentle counterpoint to the animated conversations. To the family we choose, Grandma declares, her eyes finding mine across arrangements of golden chrysanthemums and flickering candles. To the family we choose, we echo, the warm chorus of voices blending in harmony, glasses clinking with a crystalline music that speaks of celebration and genuine connection. As conversations bloom around the table-art history debates, gentle teasing, genuine interest in each other's lives, I take a moment to absorb it all. The tactile pleasure of the linen napkin in my lap, the weight of my great-grandmother's silver in my hand, the embracing comfort of being surrounded by people who choose to be here, with me, exactly as I am. Laughter erupts at something Jerome said. The sound so different from the tense, measured responses at my parents' table a year ago. This laughter is full-bodied and real, rising and falling like music, unrestrained by judgment or competition. Share how you've created meaningful traditions with the people who truly support you. What makes these special? Sometimes the greatest gift we can give ourselves is the courage to write our own story. Mine is still unfolding, each page more authentic than the last. And for the first time in my life, I can't wait to see what comes next.